My name is Vince Speranza. I served with H Company, 501, 101st Airborne Division here in Bastogne, 1944. And what I will relate is how the second day of the battle in Bastogne, the Germans had slipped around and they had surrounded the town, and we had no place to put the wounded. And so the church, which still had big stone walls, had all the windows were blown out, but on the floor of the church is where we put the wounded. And my friend had gotten hit in both legs, and he was lying on the floor of the church. The Germans had captured the field hospital, and so we had no equipment. And we went into the town and we took all the curtains from the windows and the bedspreads and so on to wrap the wounded in. And those of us that had 2 blankets, we donated one of the blankets for the wounded on the floor. My foxhole was like 4 miles out of town there, where we were dug in on the ridge. And my sergeant sent me to the town to get batteries for the radio. The radio batteries were gone. And while I was in town, I went to look for my friend who was wounded. And I found him laying on the floor there. His name was Joe Willis. And I said, Joe, you know, how you doing? He said, don't worry. He said, a couple of pieces of shrapnel in the legs. He said, I'll be out of here in a couple of days. So I said, okay, well, listen, Joe, I got to go back. Can I do anything for you before I leave? He said, yeah, go find me something to drink. I said, Joe, where the hell am I going to find you something to drink? We're surrounded and cut up. There's no supplies coming in. He said, go look in the taverns. I said, they're all bound. Go look, see what you can find. So I go back from the church, down the road there. I walked into one of the taverns, and it was all broken glass, everything, so there was nothing there. I went a little further down the road, I went to another tavern, and the bar there had the beer thing there. When I pulled the lid, the beer came out. My helmet, you know, the same helmet that in the foxhole you use, and I filled it up with beer. I went back to the church, stepped in there, and the wounded, I said, hey, Joe, I got some beer. And he said, ah. He sat up and I poured him some beer. Hey, give me some of that. Hey, give me some of that. And I'm like an old cow, you know, feeding everybody with the beer. And I ran out. They said, go get some more. So I go back to the fill up the helmet, take it back to the church, and standing in the doorway of the church is the regimental surgeon. He's standing like this. He's a major, you know, I'm a private soldier. He's standing like this. He said, what the hell are you doing, soldier? I said, giving aid and comfort to the wounded. He said, you stupid bastard, don't you know I got chest cases and stomach cases in there? You give them beer, you'll kill them. Get out of here before I have you shot. Yes, I put the helmet there, hold the beer, put it all over me. We run back to my foxhole. End of the story, right? 65 years later, I came back to Bastogne for the first time. I got to Bastogne and I meet Marco Killian, Johnny Bona. They were in the store and they said, hey, he said, you were from, I said, yeah, I was here during the war. Oh, he said, we know, who did you serve with? I said, H Company, 501. Oh, he said, we know, we will show you where you were dug in, where the foxhole. My daughter was with me. I was 85 years old. Then they think the family I shouldn't travel alone, and she came, And they took us out of town here. And they said H Company was dug in on both sides of the road here. And what we actually was a machine gun. Said, then your foxhole should be right over here. We walked over there. It was filled in, but you could see the outline. And, you know, hey, after 65 years, you look and you say, good God, this is where I was when I was 19 years old. And they said, I said, no, wait a minute. If this was my foxhole, there's got to be another one over there and one over here, because they always put two riflemen, you know, to protect the machine gun there. And they said, yeah, look. And we went over there. There was it filled in, but you could see the outline. And went over here, and it hits you. This is where you were 65 years ago as a 19-year-old kid. And I said, no, wait, no. Marco, if this is my foxhole, there was a stream over there. I said, because I remember that morning I broke the ice and filled up my canteen just before the mist came up. We knew the Germans were going to attack. He said, yeah. He said, you can't see it because of the grass. And we walked over there, and God damn it, there was the stream. And I said, now I know for sure. This is where I was. And what comes back hitting me now was that first morning of the battle. You know, there was snow all over the road, all over the ground. And there's like a mist. You can't see anything yet. Mm-hmm. But the German tanks were on the left flank and the right flank. And they opened up and artillery started. And the ground, my machine gun was here, it sloped down for like about 400 yards. I remember I set the sight for 400 yards. And then the ground went up to where the Germans were dug in. They didn't know it, and we didn't know it. But in that valley, there were barbed wire fences covered with snow. But when the first attack came, they ran into the fences. And we went to open up, and the lieutenant said, no, not yet. They run into the fence, and they're all tangled up now. The second wave comes up, and they're trying to help their buddies get off the fence. And no, not yet. The third wave comes up. And now you got knots of guys all trying to struggle through the snow there. And then the lieutenant said, now. And the slaughter was, the snow turned red. This was my first combat. And the scene that came back to me, and you know, when you're an old man, you don't have to control your emotions anymore. I fell apart there. And my daughter said, Marco, my father saw him, let's go back to town. I get emotional now even talking about it. But we came back to Bastogne, and I said to Marco, I take you to lunch. We went to the Leo here. And we, at the lunch, I ordered 3 bottles of wine. I said, I'm going to change the mood here. We're going to get happy. You know, so we started drinking wine and talking, laughing, and telling stories. So I told them about the beer story that I just told you. I said, well, you know, during the war, and they're going like this. You were the GI that gave beer to the wounded during the war? I said, yeah. They said, you with the helmet, the beer in the church? I said, yeah. They said, man, don't you know you're famous in Europe? I said, what the hell are you talking about? They said, waiter, come here. Bring us 4 bottles of airborne beer. The waiter comes with a tray. He's got 4 bottles of beer and 4 ceramic bowls in the shape of a helmet. And when you put about the label on the bottle, shows a paratrooper with beer going like this. And they said, they thought it was a rumor, a story. They didn't believe the story. They thought it was a rumor, but a brewer here in Bastogne made airborne beer.